Oh, can you guys hear me now? All right, can you guys hear me? I forgot I turned off my mic last night, and I guess I didn't turn it back on, so I was just talking for like a while without you guys hearing me. Sorry about that. See, this is why I gotta get better at YouTube. What's going on, guys? All right, let's kind of go back and just recap to you guys. Yeah, what's going on, everyone? Hello, hello. Do we want to? Do we want to discuss it? No, I'm good. Yeah, it's not just audio. It was my fault. Appreciate it, Prince. Yeah, eventually, hopefully, we'll get to do this every day, and then I can kind of walk you guys through live, because I know people were kind of freaking out today, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, God, like if I could just tell these guys what's going on, that would be helpful. So yeah, because I mean, like, when I trade, I'm not usually that like, yeah, like, so guys, I even saw something that was on the short squeeze Reddit, like just before I logged on here, and I think they have a good point. So basically, there's some interesting things going on right now. We've got the Ortex data just showed that all three levels of the short squeeze like indicators went off. We had yesterday bots, or the last couple of days, the bots were saying, you see 7, that's the max it can go. So of course we reject off 7. We get up above 7, we kind of go through, and then they just shorted the heck out of it today. And so what ends up happening then is, we go up here, we bounce off, and then we just bleed all day long, and everyone's freaking out. And they're like, this is the new low, and they buy in. This is the new low, and they buy in. So what ends up happening then is, like, because everyone's freaking out, they're trying to get retail out, and they probably got a good, not like a ton of people, but they probably got a decent amount out. I mean, you can tell that people were freaking out, and they started, once we started waterfalling in this area, that's when some people started exiting probably. But here's the thing, right? The person's comment was basically, okay, so the bots told everyone that that was going to happen. At 7, we got a rejection off there, and then it just happened to coincide perfectly with this day of just bleeding throughout the whole day. Then the next thing is, you can tell whales are actually loading, because when the stock's going down, they didn't want to put the brakes on and have it go back up, because they're trying to load up everything. So it's cheaper when the stock's going down to actually buy options, and I don't think they're playing this by commons. They're playing this with options for the long whales. So I think it's an interesting thing that we got those short squeeze indicators this evening, after a really rough day, and it's probably their attempt to basically get retail out, and that they wanted it probably to be even worse than that, but retail was buying today. The small orders were pretty, like they were coming in. And you can see, like, right now, those were larger orders, like the medium-sized ones. They were flowing out because they're trying to basically scare the crap out of retail. So I just wanted to point out, like, there's a couple of things that contribute to all this stuff. Those bots said 7, and of course we reject off 7, and then people go, oh, were they right? Like, and of course not. Okay, so everyone can hear me now. Wally Gator reporting. Can't wait to see the paper hands whine about today. Oh, well, I mean, people, they want to instill doubt because the numbers don't make sense. I mean, like, the numbers simply just don't make sense. Like, where are they getting these shares from? So I actually did call the SEC this afternoon when I was, like, doing the numbers, and I just said, you know what, none of this makes sense as far as, like, where they're getting all these millions of shares still to short each day. Because, I think I showed you guys that chart, where we've been on the we've had 100% utilization since March 8th, which is 42 days. And at that point, we should have not this many shares. And each day they're coming up with literally millions of shares to short. And I've been through this a couple times, and I started digging into some of the ETFs, but I didn't do that. But yeah, I'm just going to say, the numbers, that a lot, like we've traded almost $1 billion in volume since March 8th. Just want that to sink in. Almost $1 billion in volume when the utilization has been 100%. That's interesting, right? Phil said he bought the high, so he couldn't buy the dip. Yeah, it happens sometimes. You get excited, and you typically want to buy things when the RSI is down here versus up here. Like, I know everyone's like, ooh, rockets, we're going to go. But, like, you typically want to buy when the RSI is much lower and, it looks like it's the worst. No whining about today. Kept buying more and just bought more in the money options. Yeah, I would super chat, but all my money is in ATER. Yep, that's totally fine. I was going to say, put your money in there, and hopefully someday when I get super chat and everything activated. Oh, wait, is it active now? I guess it is active. They must have done that recently. So I just got monetized, I guess, by YouTube. So I don't know what that means. I don't have any money in there because obviously it's brand new. So they don't actually pay me at this point. But we'll see. I am very smart. I went to college. You should listen to me by ATER. My price target is sell, no sell. Don't be like tip me and paper hand your losses. Yeah, I mean, so the one thing I want to talk about tonight is, right now, when we're in the fives, we're about $1 away from book value. And we'll get a better sense on March 5th of where the new book value is. But, on paper, as of the last filing, we were about a book value of about 4 something. So your risk reward at this point right now is pretty low. Like, you're not buying Aterian at $20 a share. You're buying Aterian at $5 a share when their book value is 4. So if you put it in perspective, yeah, sure, we just came from the 2s, but that was a very unusual situation where they just shorted the hell out of things, and then Russia happened, and they basically used that to basically kill the stock. But this was the all-time lows down here, or the 52-week low. Before that, there was 142, which was way back. But let me just show you on the daily. There's your low. It was right around earnings, and then boom, we've been spiking up. I'm on the wrong part. Here's your low down here, right around this earnings. Yeah, and that's actually coincides perfectly with when we hit max utilization. Look at that. The 8th. Yeah. So monetized enabled. Yeah, so it is monetized. Hold on. I have to learn how to read this stuff because I don't see super chats on my OBS, but now I can move this over here, I guess. So I should be able to read through. Okay. Let me try this. Oh, so I did call the SEC. The SEC basically, I left a message for them, and I also filled out a report on Aterian. And I've included a bunch of documents, some files I've been keeping on them. And then I'm actually going to write a DD tomorrow that's going to basically teach retail how to report. Because I want the SEC looking at this stuff. They were supposed to have been probably looking into it last year, and I think they let it go, or they're still quote-unquote investigating it. But it's happening again, and this time it's even worse. And I want to find out and press them, and I want to get some answers, because we are going to be going on 5 days reg show, another, 8 days, and we should be on that rule that they're supposed to close out those things. And if we have enough retail investors who are all writing them, being upset about what they're doing to our stock, we're going to put the pressure on them, and they're going to maybe actually be forced to act. So that's my hope. I'm putting a lot of faith in something that I don't think typically, that anyone has a lot of faith in, but we can try. And I mean, that's the best, the worst they can tell us is no. And like, we're investigating, because they're going to be their excuse. But at this point, I'm willing to give it a shot. So, so let's do this. But I will follow up with you and let you know what the SEC says when they call me back. Oh, congrats you for it. Thank you. Appreciate it, BG. Yeah, I'll when I actually talk to the SEC, I will let you guys know, because what ends up, what's going to happen. I talked to FINRA. They eventually did call me back 2 weeks ago, and I met a nice young lady who was talking to me there, and I'm going to follow up with her again. I've got her email, and I'm going to set up a time where I can speak to her again. She worked on the short volume side. No, was it short volume snapshots, like basically that snapshot they do twice a month. She worked on that side, so she didn't do like the daily short volume, but I'm going to talk to her again. So, but yeah. Is there any worry that the market makers and the hedge funds have learned how to handle these squeezes at this point? Yeah, so I mean, you can point to GameStop and AMC. Now, the difference though is the price and of where things are. So, I want you to think about this. So, once those two stocks ran up, they've been really, they're much higher. They cost more, which means that retail can't buy as much. Aterian still is low, and the more they push this down and try to keep it, suppressed, because the shorts don't want to give up on this. I mean, they're still shorting this thing. They want retail to forget about it and go away, forget that this was like some sort of play. So what I expected them to do essentially is I expect them to basically try to pull some of what they're doing on GameStop and AMC, which is probably pulling out shares on the ETFs and the mutual funds. Like they'll probably like decouple them, and that's where they're getting some of these shares. I just need to actually go in there and take a look at those. So I was going to do that tonight, but I wanted to stream and just talk to you guys for a little bit before I dove into that, because that's part of my homework tonight. Is I'm going to be diving into the ETFs and seeing what they're doing with those, because there's about 4 million shares in there, and I think they're starting to like have to use them, and I think they're starting at this point to be getting desperate, so they're doing it more and more, which means it's going to leave an even bigger trail of FTDs and things down the road. Thanks, Mr. Dude. Let's see. Yeah, but the 7 is a scary level for them. You can see on this chart, every time we go up here, they're pushing it down as desperately as they can, but we're still in this channel right now, this up channel, and they haven't been able to break down this into a bearish engulfing. So this is still a bullish chart at this point, and I expect tomorrow to be interesting, because this day right here was a very high volume day, and I think that was maybe Thursday of last week. Is that right? It was the 13th, and it was Wednesday of last week. So Wednesday of last week was a very big volume day. So I kind of expect maybe something similar, maybe not as high as that, but like I expect some T's to actually start hitting. And I think that's why we're seeing, these guys were like fine. The bulls were fine, kind of letting the RSI chill out. We came back under. We might go down slightly more before we take another run up. That I could easily see something like that. They were just basically letting today chill out, get their options cheaper before they tried to push up again. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, so it was a fake out as far as like they let the stock run in the morning, and then you could tell like they flipped the algo switch to like just short and like bid slam. So bid slamming is basically when they take shares long, like they borrowed shares that were supposed to be not shorted, and they just held them for a while and probably gained a bunch of them. And then what they start doing is they use their high-frequency trading machines to shuffle them off at a loss. They don't care what price they get for them. They just want the price of the stock to go down. So that's what's called bid wagging or bid slamming. It's when you shuffle off those shares as fast as you can, and you're not trying to get the best price. Normally, when you're selling something, you want to get the best price for it. But in this case, they're just trying to induce panic. So that's what bid whacking is, and that's one of the things that a lot of retail just goes, oh, they must be shorting. Well, it's probably a combination of all the above. And we noticed that the short exempts actually for today were higher than yesterday. So the market makers were helping move that down too. So let's see. Let me just follow up. They took out some paper hands. Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, like, there's going to be people coming in and out of this play. Swing trading and doing whatever they need to, but it's one of those things where there's a lot of interest building up on the May 20th right now, which is the monthly, and those look pretty serious. Yeah, but I hammered the $7 calls. Yeah, I mean, as they got cheaper, there's people sliding those in, and it's going to get interesting. So let me pull up something real quick. I'll pull up some option chains and we can take a look at them, because they're starting to really get loaded. As the price was down today, they were really loading up the boat on those. So let me pull up some options real quick. I know many people that had options today, your account swung very wildly. So that was very, very hard actually, for a lot of people, because if you're not used to these types of plays, they get super stressful, because like, if you have a large account, like, you could see $1 million swing in a matter of hours, and that's a big gut punch for a lot of people. And it's very normal to feel that way. Like, you almost have to be immune to, like, not it's hard to separate that, because you're looking at that and going, you think about how much that could buy somebody. Buy a house for that. You could buy many, many cars. You could feed the poor for, months. There's all sorts of things that you can do. So, all right. So let me take a couple screenshots, and we'll take a look at the options today and see how they finished. And then we'll go to the May ones too. So let me use my MS Paint, because that's what I know how to use right now. And maybe someday I'll get a fancy tool that I can draw all over, but for right now, let's just do this here. I'll crop it. I'll make my little boxes that I like to do for in the money. There. But this is what happened today, and this is where I think a lot of people will have to, like, kind of understand what they did today and why the price went the way it did. And it's pretty logical if you know what you're looking at. And I think that's part of the problem for me, is right now I'm not able to kind of walk people through that. Like, I look at it and go, oh yeah, they were just like de-hedging all the like 650 calls and the 7s and stuff, 750s and all those. They let it run up, and then they basically pushed the price down enough where they could get those, to de-hedge, and that that swing was going to freak out retail no matter what, being up like 8, 9, 10%, and then swinging down 15%. That's a large swing for a day. So I don't blame retail for freaking out, but it's as long as you understand what you're looking at, it's not as scary. And I think that's part of the problem for retail, is they don't really have, like, sometimes the knowledge, or like somebody telling them, listen, this is going to be okay. Like, you don't have to, like, completely freak out and pull your position just because you were down 15% when you've been up 144% as of this closing. So, all right, let's take a look real quick. All right, let me know if you guys can see this stuff. Okay. So here is a good amount of open interest. And here's where I think this is what's gotten interesting. So people started filling up the higher stuff, and they didn't focus so much on the in-the-money stuff. And honestly, if you're buying in-the-money calls for like this week, you want to make sure you actually have, not financial advice, but you would, if you want the shares, you would want to make sure you at least have that. So right now, these are still in the money. That's a good amount of shares. That's like 1.6 million shares right there. That's the highest concentration that are in the money right now. But this was in the money earlier, and these right here were in the money for a second, and so were these. But what ended up happening was these guys up here, and they used some on the back end too, a little bit further down, but they basically made a ramp down, which is kind of like a reverse, like, it's a reverse ramp essentially. Most people, when they think of ramps, they think of like gamma ramps. Gamma ramps work in the reverse too, and that's what they did. Was they were trying to basically shove it back down, and that's why they increased these positions too. So they were going to run towards these sixes, and once these went in the money, they really put pressure on all the fives. So like you were able to slide this down by buying like deep in the money, short exempts, and they were able to get it to de-hedge basically all these 650s that were here. So all these 650s got de-hedged, which put a lot of selling pressure down. So what's going to end up happening now is they still have to account for these sixes. So, we're still hanging around the $6 range. We're close enough. Like, where do we finish? It was 585. So, yeah. So, like, if more in the money, like, calls for this week started popping up, like some like 450s or fours, and there was a higher concentration of in the money, that would push these back up, and then they might have to consider actually hedging these again unless they spent more money pushing it down with in the money puts. So this is a battle right now that's going on in the options chains. It doesn't really have anything to do with the commons right now, because commons aren't hitting the lit exchanges at all. So when you buy your shares, unless you're routing through IEX, which is a fair one that actually allows your shares to hit the market. But I was actually having trouble with that today. I was placing orders on IEX, and it wasn't showing up on the lit exchange, and I'm not quite sure why that was. I took some screenshots of it because I placed like a 20,000 share order just see if it would hit. And I didn't see it hitting on the lit exchange, which is a weird thing because normally I get to see my thing. So then I changed it to like 69, just to see if that weird number came up, and I still didn't see it. So I'm not quite sure what was going on with that, because normally when I route through the IEX, I see the orders come up, but I didn't today for some reason, which is a little interesting too, which is another thing I'm going to send to the SEC. Or at least talk to IEX and find out what was going on with that, because I didn't see my orders showing up on the lit exchange. Now, the other portion of this is when so say these start getting like stacked up again, and they now start having to hedge these, because Wednesday's going, at Wednesday, halfway through the day, you're going to start actually having to hedge anything that's really in the money and staying in the money. So unless they can really push it down and then get it underneath, $5, that's what they're going to try to do. Like at this point right now, max pain is 450 right here, 450. That's what they want. They want it slightly under 450. They want it like 440 to finish the week. And the market makers would make a ton of money on the premiums of all of this right here. But there are some long whales here, and what will be interesting is they built up this side right here. Now it will be interesting to see if they put the pressure on. Like I actually sold some $6 puts for next week. When you sell a put, it's bullish. So I collected premium from those, and I think the stock will be above 6 by then. So that's the idea. But these option chains are playing a huge role in how the price actually works. So I just want to let you guys know that. But yeah, they were basically hammering these in the money puts today, especially like the $6 ones. They really were just trying to drive it down and then drive it into these 550s. And if they get those in the money, then it would have put more pressure in. That's what they were doing. They basically made like a reverse gamma ramp down, and they were trying to push those down as hard as they could. We're not even covering anything but this week. Like they were buying them also for like May and some other places. So, okay. Somebody in the Discord was giving me some tools, I guess, to do better on YouTube. What's with these bots? Why are they so obvious? Did we get bots? Oh, I'm like really behind on the chats. Hold on a second. Whenever I do this, I end up. See, yes, and you're my best friend. Oh, thank you. You can be my best friend too. My my imaginary online people. All right, let's see. Um, let's see. I would super chat, but all my money. Okay, so we did that. Anon got balls. They use the ETF baskets that contain ATER short. They literally create unlimited shares by this ETF creation, sponified market making. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm suspecting, which is what happened to GameStop and AMC. The nice thing is though, Aterian doesn't have as many as those other stocks that I just mentioned. So what ends up happening is they only have 4 million shares at this point in those ETFs. So there is a limit on how much they can make there, but eventually these are going to end up just FTDs. It's just plain and simple. Unless they can get retail out of the tree, they're going to have a stack full of FTDs, which will be coming up soon. Here we go. I'm just Googling something real quick. All right, so let's see. So at the end of the month, we should be able to see the beginning of the month, right? So, and then the other one will be around the 15th. So if we do this month out, those FTDs should show up next week for the beginning of the month. And I think so they've got to get this under control, and retail to forget about this before those FTDs come out next week. And that's my suspicion right now, is they know those FTDs are going to be super high. And because of that, they need to get this under control as soon as possible, because if they allow this to get up in this range and the FTDs are through the roof, that's going to bring other more aggressive, funds that are going to probably squeeze them hard. So, because what they'll do is they'll start slapping the ass, which makes it more expensive for these shorts to actually cover when they get forced to cover. So, that's how you end up with like a GameStop situation where you just have these huge green bars, and it basically is like, another hedge fund just slapping the ass to be kind of, not to be crude, but like to be a dick. But it also just makes them a ton of money, because if they're long and they get these options, they get their options in the money, they sell them, they hit, like it just, that's how the big guys play with each other. They'll squeeze each other and they'll do all these things, but they're going to do it the most efficient way possible because they're actually smart. Whereas like retail, we just kind of buy one side usually and just go YOLO and that's it. So, but yeah, we should see them at the end of the month, which would be a week away. So we should be able to see at least the start of the FTDs for Aterian. So the gist is they sell their stock difference. Yeah, so they'll do what's called seller boxing. So like if you look at the chart today, let's just go here to like the 5-minute. So what ends up happening is this. So right here, we hit that high, we start consolidating, right? And everyone was expecting another move up, because at that point the 650s are hedged. And now they're going to be starting to have to hedge the 7s and the 750s, and everyone's excited. And what they did was they used a ton of ammo to get everything back down into this channel. They basically reversed it. They got it to break down, and they did this by slamming, the bid whacking. Like I said, they'll be shuffling off shares very quickly to try to waterfall them. That's what these ones, especially like this candle, that's what they did there. And then they allow it to consolidate a little bit, let people, retail buy in, and then they just wanted to slow bleed. That's what they were looking for. They wanted to freak retail out and just say, this is going down forever. And they know retail is really impatient. They'd rather see and if you notice, look at when they went down the most. these right here, these red candles, they got it moving down. Retail, you can see retail buys back in on these ones right here. And then they just, couple big ones. They've had this one large one when the volume died down because all of retail bought around here. Like retail was still buying, and then retail probably ran out of money because they already got in. And now we're in low volume. And so look at this. So in low volume, really low volume down here, look what they're doing. They're just bleeding it off. Every once in a while, short a bunch, or, and then just bleed it off. So they can just trickle those shares back and forth, bleeding them down. It's called seller boxing. And then, boom, they have another large sell-off to put it even further down. So finally, right here at the end of the day, buyers started stepping back in. They get bought up, and then the volume kind of died into the rest of the day. So they mainly made that huge move down on low volume. So I just wanted to point that out, that they basically targeted knowing that it wasn't super high volume, and they shuffled off a lot of shares. And then they probably got some retail to sell off, in like certain spots. And yeah, it is what it is. But this is going to happen on any stock, and it's because most of the time retail doesn't quite understand. Now, if you kind of look at the zoomed out, though, you go back to the daily, right? It's still a bullish chart. Like, people are freaking out over 10% down, but we're up, I think, right now 144% since back here. So, I mean, like, you do the math. Like, we're down, and that was after today. So we were up like 100 and almost 50%, and we just went down 10%. So it's not that bad if you kind of put that in perspective. Like, we are still up 30-something% over the last 5 days. So that's, it's still good. Let's say, thanks, Thailand. What did the SEC say? I think I told you guys. Or maybe I'm just behind right now. Okay. I'm just getting caught up, sorry. Mr. Dude, thank you so much. I don't know. What is this? What's Seek? I guess maybe it's a currency that I don't recognize, but at least we have a CEO. Yeah, the CEO called it out, so that's good. Let me just go back to my chat thing and see. And I will eventually get to you guys. I'm sorry. I know this is like, I'm behind on the chat. I'm trying to get there. So 122 people watching, only 40 likes. I guess. Is it higher now? I don't. It's Swedish Kronos. Oh, cool. I was going to say it's about $21 worth. Oh, cool. Thank you very much. Thank you for the conversion. I didn't recognize the currency. Yeah, they don't like it being over 7. The SSR honestly won't make a difference. In fact, usually SSR, when it's triggered, brings more people to short, and it's like a wounded animal in the animal kingdom. Like, all the predators come out when somebody gets on those. The only difference, though, is I think this stock is so volatile that some of them may not want to jump on that shorting it down, and especially because it's hard to borrow shares right now. So if I was coming in looking at this, I would go, I don't know if I want to pay 121% off the bat. It's a little high. So I'd be like, this is your fight. You guys deal with this. I'm not going to jump in right now. Did you see the chart I sent you about low peaks falling into a trend line over the last few days? There was also that big spike today at the same time frame. Yeah, I think you did. Let me just pull up my individual messages. I think you were... Is it Lex, right? I mean, we can pull this over if you want. I'll take a look at it real quick if you don't mind me showing your chart. But yeah, he was basically just showing, like, there were certain times... right there that he was picking up on, and I'll try to protect your identity a little. Oh, I screwed it up. Sorry, I blew up your spot. But yeah, you pulled this one over, and I guess try to get it over here. I'm just gonna blow up your spot and show you. Was it this one? No, it's the one beneath it, right? It was this one, right? Yeah, so for anyone that's looking, you know, you had the bust through, comes back down. We're still staying within that channel. Let me see what is this right here? It's all you're talking about all the spikes, I think. Yeah, so. Is there a chance that this correction is this thing being overbought? Typically not for like squeeze plays. It's you can be overbought for a while, but yeah, I think they were letting the RSI cool down. It also allows the options to get cheaper, because I think if they're going to load the boat and they're going to go for something, if the bulls really want to make something happen, they wanted to get their options cheaper. So you let the shorts push it down. You just keep it at least in that channel, so it's not like a bearish engulfing, so you don't screw up your TA, and then you load up, and it looks like they loaded up the earlier part of the chain, or if maybe that's retail just buying out of the money again, because retail got excited and then spent a bunch of money buying out of the money options, which may or may not actually hit. And that's the one thing I've been trying to personally not do, is go too far out of the money. Like near the money's fine, going too far out of the money is how you get in real big trouble. So if we can break 7, we can come back down below it again. If we break 7, can we come back down below it again? I mean, yeah, it's very possible. I mean, we're in a channel right now. Like you can see, we're just going like this at this point, and if we, this may steepen at some point if we start getting real pressure on, but and we are at least not Netflix. Yeah, I mean, guys, we're 10% down, and we're still 144% up for the month. So, I mean, this is, people tend to not, to me, look at that. That looks very healthy. I mean, people freak out. It is what it is. And I know it's because you're looking at the numbers on your account instead of the actual, TA and the numbers behind it and the theories. If all you're watching is the money, then, yeah, it's hard to, control those emotions. So, is 7 an immediate trigger for higher numbers? So, I mean, we can look at the options chain again. But, in this week right here, if we go above 7, which is here, that means that this is in the money, this is in the money, and then this is in the money. That means that's a lot of shares. I mean, if you want to pull up, and, we shouldn't assume that every one of them is a bullish call, because there are bearish calls. But let's just add a couple things up. I'll just get a rough sense. We'll say it's 2761, 3 plus 520. Sorry, this will take a second just to calculate some of the ones that are in the money right now. All right, so that's like 4.4. If we take maybe 80% of that, let's see. So it's about 3.5 million that are in the money right now, roughly. This is just an estimate, but you might have 3.5 million right now that are currently in the money. Now, if you were to all of a sudden then add, I mean, and even if we took a percentage off that, you're looking at maybe 6 million shares that might be in the money, and that's not including any bullish puts that are in there too. That's a lot. I mean, that's that's a lot of shares, and I don't know where they're going to get them from. I mean, apparently they have no problem just making up shares, so it is what it is. But yeah, so I mean, you imagine if you had a hedge roughly, maybe even they know retail's buying some of this, so they won't probably hedge all of it unless retail actually says no, I want my shares, and they hold it into Friday, and at that point they exercise their shares and they want those shares. Yeah, you pay more on the premium, but you're actually making the market maker. And I was going to say, like, for me, if I was trying to do it, like, I would either with me, if I let them go into the money on Friday, then my broker will just do it for me, and I'll just have the shares as long as you have the cash for them. So, but other people's brokers, you might have to exercise yourself, and then you have to have the cash for it. But it's making the market maker give you shares that they don't think you really want. Are they allowed to do that? I don't know. I don't know what context they were talking about. Sorry, but yes, we could go over if you want, I can pull up the volume for May 20th, because that's the one that's got probably the most right now. Alright, so let me screenshot that. Sorry, you have to bear with me while I'm trying to get this up. Alright, so we'll select it, crop it. I'll add my little yellow boxes so we can easily look at them. Okay, we'll bring it over so you guys can see it now. Alright, so let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, hopefully you guys can see this. So what you're looking at here, these are pretty large numbers, and they're in the money right now. And so what you're seeing, though, is you've got a lot of open interest here at 750, and that's going to be even higher tomorrow. And then you also are getting a whole lot of interest at 10. And what they'll do is they'll start filling these in as they get closer, but they've basically made like the markers for a gamma ramp up. And you can see there are shorts actually putting in pretty large requests to help lower the stock right now. They're doing it because, number one, it's one of those that's far enough out that they count pretty. You have to hedge those pretty decently. But you can also see what they did this week. If I throw this up here and where's the? I guess I closed it. But yeah, I was gonna say that. So if you look and calculate this out, what is that? So yeah, for this week potentially, if we were over 7, we would have like 6 million shares. That I don't know where they're gonna get those. And they're already gonna have FTDs coming out next week too. So if we were to add up 10 plus. It's at least like maybe like 3.2 million that are going to be in the money right there. And then if you were over 750, that's going to add another, like, what is that? Yeah, once again, we can't assume all of them, so we could discount some of them and just take off of like 20% or 30%. But if you were to take 31096, it's another like 4.8 million. Is that right? No, that's not right. Yeah, it's 4.8 million. So, I mean, you'd be looking at like 10 million shares, which is, how many? What's that to the float? 10 minutes. It's like 40% of the float would be locked up just in May. So, I mean, that's pretty ridiculous to think about, considering that We've already been at a 100% utilization since March 8th, which indicates that the retail had probably already locked up the float. So having an additional 40% over what retail already owned, so Discord you sent out last night at the end of the stream expired. I was going to join. Oh, I guess I must have hit the wrong link. I'm sorry, I was tired last night. So, if somebody can link the Discord for them, that'd be great. When something like this happens, how would you preempt it? What to look for? I thought that around $6 was its dip. I spent my cash there. It was not optimal, but okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was selling $6 puts, and I thought there was enough support there, but they kind of bled it down, and it's fine. I mean, we didn't finish that far under it, and we actually after hours creep back up towards 6. So I don't think that's horrible. I mean, they went lower than I thought they were going to. So just wanted to let you guys know. Yeah, they're getting very stacked in the May. So I just wanted you guys to know that. Okay, so let's do this. Let me get caught up on the chats and everything. And let me also go back to YouTube because I need to make sure that I can't see the super stuff ever unless I'm looking at the, I guess, whatever it's called, the regular YouTube thing. I'll have to learn how to integrate all this stuff at some point. I was down 60K in January. You're even. That's awesome. Yeah. Even is good at this point. The Discord link says invalid. Then I should probably fix that. Oh, okay. I am able to see it in there. Let's see if I can get caught up here. I am about halfway through. Great explanation. I don't even know what that was a reference to because it was probably so long ago. Is it better to exercise deep in the money calls or sell them and use the profits to buy commons? It all depends on your intent. Like if you're trying to make the market maker, for example, actually deliver them on the lit exchange, then you would exercise the deep in the money calls and make them give it to you, because at least they would have had to hedge them, and then they would have to deliver them to you in T+2. If you sell them and then buy commons, they will not hit the lit exchange, and then you will just become a T+3 that they'll have to end up buying. So go tell my grandpa to go all in on his retirement. Don't tell your grandpa to go all in on anything, even if it's a relatively one-sided play. Like, I mean, I think for us, we're a pretty asymmetric bet. Like this is the low. We're not that far up. Like if you really look, like there's a lot of room to go before we're overvalued. So like down here when we're still like $1 away from book value, that's not too bad to be buying, because the worst case scenario is you end up with some shares that you end up having to hold a little bit longer, but like that's the company is growing, the revenue has grown. It's not like a dud company. It's it's had some trouble with obviously shipping, but like for the most part they're still going to get through it. They're going to make it through. And all right, a lot of people are not grasping how exactly buying in the money puts drives the price down. Maybe you could explain this in a more granular. Okay, so just like when you have for example, when you have this right here, like these 250 calls. So what ends up happening is when you buy these, there's a delta on these, which is, basically the probability of them being, I guess the easiest way to display it is just like, if you have a delta 1, you need to be like, you're basically 100% going to be in the money. That's probably the easiest way I could describe it without having to go into the Greeks to, Now, this is for all options. So, for example, the put, like up here, that's at $10, will probably have a delta that's close to 1 also. Or, these 22s would have a 1, and this might be like a 0.8 something. But basically, it's the probability of them being in the money at expiry. Be the easiest way to kind of describe it. So when you buy these options here, these 48 like contracts that are here, somebody said, I want these contracts at 250. What that will do is the market maker then has to go and say, okay, well, we're 3 days away from OPEX. We can go and hedge maybe 70% of this thing, because they're so deep in the money that if this person wants to exercise them, we'll probably have to find these shares. So what they'll do is they'll go out to the market this week and they'll start actually buying some shares, and then they'll hold these shares, and depending on as it gets closer, they have to hedge more. So like you basically have this constant hedging and de-hedging that's happening on the options chain. So a deep in the money, for example, I guess I could pull up the old one. Let me pull up the old one because that probably is a little more clear. Just saving this one. It's May 20th. Options chains. Hold on. May 20th. Okay. So if I open the old one. Okay. Let's pull this over. Zoom in. All right. So these ones right here, they started probably buying these today. And because they're $7 puts, we ran up to like 7, and they probably shorted stuff down. Once they got it underneath 7, they were able to start buying these deep in the money puts, and they probably started buying these other ones too because they were trying to get the ramp going on the other side. So they wanted to be able to slide down, and as more things were going in the money on the put side, they would add more selling pressure, which is going to make basically this reverse. And that's how they scare the crap out of retail, because retail doesn't understand how this works. So because they're buying in the money puts, and they're actually becoming like, as the price goes down, now you have to buy more of them to actually, account for, okay, so these are, deeper in the money now when we were down here, like I think we finished right here, but like at one point, I think they push us down to like this area right here. So like all of these then would have been in the money. So you have additional pressure that's being put on the stock to go down. So they're hedging to the downside. And what's happening is they're de-hedging all of these at the same time. So it's even more like it's more extreme. So that's essentially what's happening. When you buy deep in the money puts, it's driving the price down because they're acting almost like a short, because you're buying something that has a delta that's close to 1. So it works on both sides. If you are deep in the money here, then you're going to have the market makers having to do it. That's why it's important, if retail understands how this works, if you buy a ton of these things down here, they're going to have to actually probably come up with those shares if you have enough money to afford them. So if you were to pay the, whatever the $2.75 premium, if that was your, you were trying to get it for, and you got them in there, they would probably have to hedge these. And as long as you had, the $3 to execute those per, thing, so like, you would be able to afford those market makers giving you those call options. They're going to have to hedge them, so it's going to add buying pressure. So when I was selling the $6 puts, for example, I'm betting that this stock will be above $6, or else I'm going to lose money on it. So what ends up happening is that will add actually pressure though on the buy side, because like I'm basically committing to buying at 6. So if all of a sudden the stock price starts moving up here, even if it's on the call side, my puts now are adding bullish pressure because I'm actually committing to buying at 6. So as the thing goes, they have to hedge my bullish puts too. So I don't know if that's more confusing me going into that, but like basically, the closer something is, like the further in the money it is, the more it's going to actually impact, especially when the theta is like getting smaller. The gamma then on it is going to go ahead and like speed up the process of how much they have to hedge. There's like a whole bunch of like, we should get DZ and just have them give a whole lecture on how to view all this stuff. But yeah, like that's the basics of it is, when you buy deep in the money puts or deep in the money calls, you're basically making the market maker hedge those. Make sure you like the stream, the numbers in the stream grow. Okay. So hypothetically speaking, if you were holding some $5 expiring this Friday, what would you do with them? If I wanted the market maker, and say we finish at 650 this week, if I was holding a $5 call and I had the money to actually exercise these, I would go ahead and exercise them right before the market closed, or I would do, I would just let them go in the money, and then my broker would give me those shares. You have to check with your broker to see what they do on those, just to make sure they don't sell them. But that's personally what I would do. Anon, can you get a Twitch channel? YouTube works, but I need to stay on it. I can't multitask and look through the charts. Yeah, I actually can. I'm streaming on OBS. I turned it off only because it was giving a reverb on it, because I think I didn't know how to mute the desktop. It was creating like a feedback loop on it, so I shut it off. But I can do it, I think. Let's see. I'll try that next time. Smash the 69th light. Oh, cool. Short attacks. How could retail run it at the morning if all of our volume is moved off exchange? You would have to buy deep in the money calls or bullish puts. Like if you sold at 450 put and you got $9 for it, I mean, that's not a lot of money. But hypothetically, if you were to do that, your stuff would actually count towards the exchange, because the market maker would be forced to go out and buy those shares. Same thing with the calls. If you were to buy a deep in the money call, like a $4 call or like a 450 call, that's deep enough in the money where they would probably have to go out and start buying shares to like raise the price. If you were just ordering, your typical buys on the on your broker, they're not going to go through. They're just going to basically get pushed off exchange, and they'll become a T+3. Which means that in 3 days your broker has to go out and find them, or they can eat the FTDs, which is possible too. So, do you think long whales will hold their ammo until the last part of Friday? Yeah, I mean that's the most important day to them, because it doesn't really matter, honestly, what happens. Like you need to at least make sure that the wheels don't go off. The wheels don't go off the rail. But at the same time, the only day that really matters is Friday at like 4 o'clock. So pretty much the pump to pull people in, dump. I'm not sure what he's talking about, but okay. Yeah, like in this case, they let retail FOMO in this morning, and then they pulled the rug, and then they were just trying to push the price down, and they were doing it through the option chains, shorting, bid whacking. Like there's a whole bunch of things they were doing, and it was all in low volume. So will the bots come back in? I'm sure. Maybe they're in like somebody bigger's, or maybe we blocked them all. Let's see. So in these sell-off attacks, they're scooping up most of the shares. Retail are the big guys. They're actually just passing it back and forth usually. That's typically what they're doing, is they're like putting it a penny down, putting a penny down. And as long as there's not a lot of buying pressure, they can get away with it, which is how they get it to bleed. They're just basically shoving a couple shares back and forth to each other. Okay. Bots were right. They planted that number in your head. They pulled the rug. Psychological warfare. Yeah, and that's actually what I had started out the YouTube thing saying, was they did that on purpose. They made sure that they went around to tell everyone that 7 was the top, and grandma, her grandson that went to college, is very smart, and he told her this is the most it can go is 7, and then they did today because they knew that would mess with retail. Yeah, I mean, it was very, very obvious. From a technical standpoint, we hit a supply zone, we got to 7, we got rejected, come back down to the demand zone and held strong. Yeah, I mean, there's still buying pressure. Like, they're pushing it off exchange, but they're still buy pressure. And eventually that buy pressure gets to these T+3 days, and then the volume spikes because they have to actually find those shares. You agreed. We were extended for a long time. Massive shorting and panic selling. Yeah, I mean, that's what retail does best. So it's not that unusual. Let's see. The part that freaks me out is probably the retail that got in the 5 to 6. Yeah, I mean, if they just hold on, they'll be fine. Predictions for tomorrow. I think it's going to be a high volume day again, honestly. I think that they're going to try to attack it in the morning, and then later in the day, they're going to probably have to buy some stuff. And if they get it, if there's at least some buying pressure that happens, or if retail starts stacking in the monies again, because I think retail, this is maybe speculation, but it looked to me like retail got distracted from, they started buying out of the money because they thought the stock was just going to keep running, so they got greedy and they started buying stuff that was out of the money. And once they do that, they usually throw away their money. So, what's a bearish call? It's selling a call. So you can buy and sell puts, and you can buy and sell calls. And so they basically are like the opposite of if you buy a call, it's bullish. If you sell a call, it's bearish. If you sell a put, it's bullish. And if you buy a put, it's bearish. So explain the domino effect with the FTDs. If there are shares with the FTDs, that basically means that the person who is supposed to get the stock will not. Yeah. So essentially what FTDs are is one side failed to deliver on their obligation. So, for example, if a shorts a stock, they are supposed to locate that share before they actually short it. In reality, that doesn't ever happen. They basically just short wherever they want, and then later on they'll go, oh, we thought we could find that share, but that person must have ran out of them. So, and the SEC goes, well, you guys were supposed to locate them. And they go, yeah, we thought we could. And the SEC goes, oh, you guys are naughty. And we're going to put you on this list then, the reg show. And then we're going to sit there and, honestly, it's the markets are so screwed up. Like, it shouldn't be this way, but it is. So we have to just deal with it for now, and we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, if you want to change things, learn about this stuff, and then start writing and contacting the SEC yourself and tell them this is not something we like. Like, this is a system that's completely, like, the fact that retail's 90 to 95% of all retail trades never hit the exchange is disgusting. Like, that shouldn't be. And they're like, well, you dummies don't know what you're doing. Well, it doesn't matter, because that's not a free market then. So, thanks for your service. My grandfather served in World War II as a Marine Raider. Very cool. Thanks, man. Yeah, I did 2 tours in Iraq and then got out. Let's see. Bearish call. Yeah, so there you guys are talking about the bearish calls again. Let's see. So, is this a short and a gamma squeeze? Right now it's mainly a short squeeze, but it does have a gamma component. If the options start really, getting bigger tomorrow, then it could easily turn into both a short and a gamma squeeze. And then that's what I think the Ortex alert that we just got tonight was about, is because if, for example, tomorrow morning we wake up and there's a ton of, in the money, it's going to fly. And they built a ramp up too, so it could easily become a, gamma squeeze as well. So even on the threshold, can they keep issuing FTDs forever? I mean, it is what it is. Like, we're on the reg show because they had a certain percentage of the float that was not delivered, and so that's just going to end up being, a huge issue. So let's see. Are we getting screenshots of the bots? I guess you guys already removed them. No laser eyes. Yeah, our Discord probably owns a good portion of the float. And is not good at multitasking. He just wrote my Discord bad link from a month ago. Yeah, probably. I've got a lot going on right now, so I apologize if you guys write me and I'm like scattered, because I mean, I've had hundreds and hundreds of people write me DMs, and I'm like trying to keep up with them. Like, I really am trying. It's just, I also work a full-time job, so like this isn't my only thing that I'm going on, and I also have a wife and 2 kids that are young, so it gets a little hard to keep that going. Let's see. You guys are talking to Dana, it looks like. Squeezes can go thousands of percent. Yeah, I mean, they can. I mean, it's... I guess you guys are talking about some bots. Some people are nervous. Let's see. And on some of some more visual, can you explain options matrix for bullish put? Did I do that already? I feel like I did that now. There's no way the market makers will let this run to 8, considering the amount of calls and strikes. Yeah, I mean, if it gets to that point, then they lose control, I think, because it will pop. At some point, it doesn't become profitable for them to do that. So, I guess Sandy Wolf is a bot. What a squeeze today. I knew 7 was the highest it would go. It was fun when it lasted, guys. What's the next play? It's Aterian, Sandy. It's Aterian. Yeah, Anon routes directly through IEX. That is true. So what's the magic number we need to be? I mean, anything over 5 is good. I mean, at this point, like, if I really go and take a look, let's see. I mean, anything over 5, it will be fine because there's a decent amount of pressure there. It would be great if we could finish over 6. That would be like ideal going into next week. But I mean, like, if we fly up and get into the 7 or the 750s, then we probably are going to move to 8 and then maybe back down to 750. But like, that's where I'd love to be. But if we finish over 5, I'd be fine with that. Like, I know we're fighting, someone that's probably not playing by the rules. So I just want to let you guys know. Some of them got the red eyes. So they're trying to show Mullen and HYMC. So those are two that I think. Yeah, no, I'm good. ATER did squeeze. Why don't you guys understand that? Don't listen to anyone that tells you otherwise. No, I'm good here. I like the stock. I'm just going to keep buying more of it, Sandy. Thanks. Sandy, you trickster. Now they're really pushing Mullen and... Yeah, the two ones that are actually actively diluting. That's what they're pushing, actually. So if you guys want to know, Mullen was going through an active dilution, and so was HYMC. So they want you to go and pump their stuff so they can actually, get that ATM out of the way and raise money through them. So, yeah, green eyes went to red eyes. They did that like 2 days ago. They're getting screenshots. Sorry, we're going to go bankrupt your boss. Please leave. Wally Naduberger. Sandy's right, guys. So many gators who are very intelligent tried to tell you 7 was the highest it would go. I'm going to buy so much tomorrow. Just to spite you guys. Thank you. All right, so lots of bots. Sandy, I'm going to go to Mullen and HUI. So just so you guys know, those two stocks that they're mentioning are both actively diluting. So they're trying to get you to pump their other stocks. And they're complementing each other. Yes. Tell us who your employer is and we'll cash app you. Wally thinks Sandy has pretty eyes. It's time for the robots to rise up. All right, let's see. Oh, Diana Wonder. ATER is done for. Good stuff. I mean, I love these bots. Mullen and HC. Yeah, I mean, that's what they do. Yeah, that's why I read it. Apparently, I'm getting reported for self-harm. Do the boys get laser eyes? I mean, I think so when they get chills, Brian, that I think that's what's going on is like they were like, okay, here's your default thing. Log in and go, shill these other stocks to these guys and tell them that they're all done. This guy running fake accounts should just leave. No one's following your crap. Bro, he has 85.65 shares since October. Yeah, I think Brian they do. Let's see. No, Brian is not a bot. think he was just asking the question. All right, let's take a look. Let's see. I told you all Barks was the new move. It's already moving. Maybe too late. Yeah, if you want to play that, go for it. I was gonna say I'm gonna stay with ATER. I like what's going on here, so I'm good with it. But yeah, DJ, you can play things however you want. Some people go in and out of plays. Other people, are buying swing long, and that's where I'm at. So yeah, so Anna made me think twice about SST. You took action, and yeah, I mean, so like I said, I'm not trying to knock on other people's plays. The more and more I dive into things, like I started looking into the SST thing because somebody was like, did, you're just saying this is because you're in this other play. I'm like, fine, I'll do DD on it. So I did DD on it, and I started reading through, and I started looking, and I was like, this is at risk. And I was like, I know they just, that they were right about one thing. They were right that it normally takes them a while to get the S1s through. But the problem is the trend that they were on, and I think I took a screenshot of this and I posted it, or maybe I didn't, but essentially I noticed that this, the S1s were speeding up. They were slow back in like January, but all the more recent ones took 11 days. And I'm like, that's not a good sign. If you're playing this short term, like, that's fine, but it was just a little bit dangerous. I'm like, I'd rather buy Aterian when it was like $2-3 a share than to buy SST that, like, yeah, I played it for a day and I ripped 300% off it and on options, and then I sold. So let's see. Yeah, he screwed himself in and out of ATER on the last dip, then sold it, and went over 5, and always messing my average trying to get. Yeah, I mean that you're picking up pennies, DJ, when the train's coming. Like, if you want to pick up pennies off the railroad track, that's fine, but like, you're not really usually gaining that much, and if you miss time things, you'll really screw up like your average, and you can actually lose more than you made if you just had held. I know people try to get the swings going, and that's some people's strategy. But like personally, like I don't like that, especially on a squeeze play, because at any point they could just be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna run now, and then you're gonna buy back in like nowhere near where you could have been. So, can I discuss the volumes during market hours versus after when something runs? Is there something, or is there is carry through for the pre and after markets? Right now most of the action is delta slash, yeah, so right now most of the, it's all going through the options. That's where the battle is. And the problem is, like, for retail, they just keep buying common shares, which is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with buying common shares. That's a safer route to go, but it's not adding any buying pressure at this point unless they're routing through IEX, which you can do. You can learn how to do that. It's not every broker, but some brokers will allow you to do that. But yeah, so like it doesn't. Here's the thing. So we gapped up this morning, and then we filled the gap, and then we ran down even more. So I just wanted to tell people, like, it's. I'll show you on the chart real quick. So we finished down here, and then we gapped up in the morning all the way up here, and then we basically just ran back down. And if you look, I don't know if I need to hide all this stuff here, but let me see if I can go maybe 30 minutes so I can just show you. If you actually look, this was yesterday. We hit a low of 516, something like that, 518, somewhere around there. And then you look at today, we didn't even hit that low again. So like, we're still in this like kind of like consolidation area, and then I'm expecting another leg up at some point. That's just personally what's going on with me. Let's see. Bino bought the dip. Good stuff. I like that. I bought some dip too. So this thing is about retail getting pushed off exchange. When you've placed large orders in the past, I've seen my buys reflect on the chart instantly. It depends on who your broker is. So some brokers, that's no problem. Some brokers actually allow your stuff to hit the late exchange. A lot of brokers, though, don't, because they do payment for order flow. So if you have, for example, like a Robinhood or even TD, TD you can choose who you want to route through at least. So you can choose IEX if you want to. It sometimes takes longer, but you can do it. So I'm just taking a drink of water. But like if you're on Webull or Robinhood or Moomoo, all of them are basically like, payment for order flows. Your stuff's all going off exchange. Like you're not. It's just going to get coupled up and turn off. So, but yeah, I was going to say, yeah, if you're using an interactive broker, your stuff might actually hit the lit exchange on its own. It just really depends on your broker, though. These bots are funny. I really hope we close around 7 to 8. Yeah, I mean, that'd be fantastic if we closed all the way down, like up there. That'd be awesome. The volume indicates a lack of organic buying and selling participants. Instead, it's a slow action-driven derivative. Yeah, that's right now how it's going, because every once in a while on these, like if you look at these spikes of when we're actually seeing buy pressure, they're happening all at once, and it's typically, I think, because it's these are some sort of like T plus, I think, that's happening, that they're starting to actually have to deliver some of these shares. But like, look at this. You have no volume, no volume, no volume, no volume, no volume, no volume, and then boom, we just had all of a sudden a huge amount of volume, buying pressure, all this stuff. This is when they try to get everything under control. They try to really push it down right there on that day. Nothing really. Boom. This is when all this volume, 1, 2, 3, all the buy stuff that came that day hit this day, and we actually had a big spike up. Now you've got, kind of a bull flag forming. It's heading down until, what is it? One of these days, you just, you've now got, boom, you've got some stuff hidden right here, some buy pressure. It goes up. We hit up again, slow days, and then boom. We had that morning that we actually were buying here. Was that morning or was that the end of yesterday? Yeah, it was this morning. So they bought a whole bunch of things and then shorted the rest of the day. So, I mean, we're getting these volume spikes, and I think it's having to do with, like, the T+. Because, I mean, you look at that. That's not a normal, like, constant, like, building, like, buy. It's basically, like, all of our stuff's getting routed off exchange, and then eventually sometimes they have to, like, buy a bunch of shares all at once, and that's what's essentially happening. So, Greg Ostertag was an NBA player too. Now they're using former NBA players. Yeah, Rasheed Wallace, and yeah, nailed it. You got it there. Got some basketball fans. Yeah, so Gina, I got reported for self-harm on Reddit. Like, just so everyone knows, I am not thinking about harming myself, but the bots, I think, are trying to get me in trouble with Reddit, where they suspend the account. They did that before with GameStop during the run-up. They were trying to report all the guys that were writing the DD and all that stuff. So, I mean, it's very interesting. I must somehow be a threat, because I don't feel that way. I don't think it's that, what is there, like 152 people watching? That's not that many people, but, yeah, David, I don't know. Yeah, they reported me for self-harm. Why? Yeah, because my guess is if you get enough of those, they probably flag your account and take it down, because, they don't want you to, like, go over the edge because of Reddit or something like that. And did you already go over the change in short interest and some of the important numbers? Yeah. So I mean, we can go over those again. If I just pull up, I just want to see what Vortex says real quick. Pulling it up right now. Yeah, yes, I was gonna say appreciate that. I'm trying to help you guys out and just explain, share what I know, and hopefully, you guys will learn some things here and there. Just trying to pull up the date. No, that's what it is. I need a ATER. Okay, just so people know, this is my buddy's account. I don't really want to blow up his spot, but we did get the short squeeze things yesterday. 1, 2, 3. So we did get those indicators up, and they shorted the heck out of it today. And then the Fintel, I can pull up. Give me a second, and I'll pull up the Fintel data and go from there. Okay. So we're here to short interest. So we're still number one on the list. They're messing around with shares tonight. Short borrow fee, looks like they just pushed it down though. So that's what you'll find is this. They're trying not for this to squeeze. They don't want this to squeeze, because if it squeezes, then that's bad for business as far as like people keep getting confused by this, but like if this represents markets having a problem, like Aterian right now is a problem in the market, which is being exposed, and that's why they're trying so desperately to get the price down and to get these options to be out of the money, and to show, because if those options actually finish in the money, they're going to lose control of the stock, and then people are going to go, well, why did that stock fly up overnight? They'll have to make some excuse in the papers and the news articles on the internet, and try to cover up the fact that there was likely some shares that didn't belong there. We'll see. I'm not allowed to accuse anybody because I'm not qualified apparently to make that assessment, because I don't know securities law like a lawyer does. So I have to watch what I'm saying apparently. So I'm trying to do that. But yeah, they did use some short exempts today. Here's today. So they used up like over 500,000. I'm just reading. And then down here, you have your aggregate short volume. They shorted a little bit over 57% of the daily volume. Reading through some comments real quick, but this is what's going to be interesting. So the beginning of this month, on the 4th on, I expect us to see some large shares not delivering, and they're going to shake this tree until retail gives them back their shares, because they don't want retail sitting here holding them, because retail's unpredictable. With the other big guys, they'll they'll go, hey, listen, like, you got us. Somebody makes a phone call to their CEO for the most part usually, and they say, hey, you got us. We'll go ahead and give you X amount of dollars and just let us out of the squeeze. That's typically how Wall Street kind of like buddy, that sort of thing is my guess. And I think honestly, we may have seen some institution that they approached and said, hey, listen, like, we really need your shares. Would you mind, selling them? And so that's essentially what they did. Was they may have approached an institution that was holding a good chunk, and they said, We'll scratch your back down the line. Just make sure you give us these shares, and that kind of stuff happens all the time. I mean, they pretend like it doesn't, but I mean, it does. So that's another scenario that I was looking into. Is we can't find that out though until like the 13Fs come out. If they could convince somebody to actually give up a couple million shares, that would have been huge for them, especially today. So they'll blame retail for any problems. Yeah, and they will. They'll say, "Oh, these Reddit kids squeeze this stock," and like honestly, institutions are the ones that do it because we don't have the buying power for that. But these FTDs will be really interesting going into next week because we'll get the data from basically April 1st through April 15th. So, what's anyone going to do about FTDs seriously? Well, so here's the thing. So eventually, they're going to have to deal with them because you can't have hundreds of thousands or millions of shares floating out there with a failure to deliver, because that's not very good for optics, and it's also not very good for So they do count, and they will add up, especially if they get on the reg show and they're on there for an extended period of time, because at that point, that's a red flag that there's manipulation happening. So, let's see what else is going on here. Yeah, of course. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. Like, I mean, I'll answer whatever you guys want at this point. But like, I know everyone's kind of interested in what's going on. And honestly, like, I'm very interested in seeing how they're coming up with all these shares, because I think I showed you guys this. And let me see if I can pull up my. Alright, let me pull up this. This right here. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that. I can maybe zoom in. Is that better? Can you guys see better there? I've been investing in trading for like about 20 years, roughly, David. But really within the last like 5 years, I was more serious about it. I've kind of always been investing, but I really got serious in the last 5 years. And for me, I may not be like the smartest guy but I always try to, I work and I make sure that if I don't know something, I keep working at it until I understand it. And then from there, I typically will follow up, and I will be that pain in the ass that calls your office and asks you questions until I figure out what's going on. So we can fill in some of these blanks, just to let you guys know. So what we can do is we can pull this Fintel data over here. And as long as you guys don't mind us like covering some of it up, we can pull up today's aggregate volume. Here we go. So we would add 34 down there. This is a screenshot, so we're not going to be able to add it manually, but I can do the math on that real quick. Alright, so if we take 34,202,850 plus 340,056,992. Okay, so this one becomes 374 million in short volume, aggregate short volume, since we went on the 100% utilization. So that's an extra, like 34,000? Yeah. Sorry, 34 million. Then on this one right here, the aggregate total volume, you're looking at... Gotta make it a little bit bigger. I know I'm visual, so I'll probably just have to end up, updating it. But they've shorted another 57%. And it's amazing how they keep coming up with all these shares to short every single day. I mean, just millions of shares just popping out of where? I don't know. But I mean, the total volume on the stock at this point right now will be close to 1 billion, and since March 8th. So 1 billion shares will have traded very soon on this stock. Just let that sink in. 1 billion shares on a stock that has 100% utilization. How many short exempts? Around 6 million of them. So the market makers short exempting them, shorting on downticks, all those things that are supposed to be there. And then you have another, this aggregate short volume is, like 374 million. So they had that kind of volume, short volume on a stock that had no utilization, and I mean, they have no shares. Like, the retail had locked up the float. It was like very clear and obvious. So just Reggie Miller. So they're using NBA players right now. So if you guys don't know, Reggie Miller is another NBA player. So they're basically just shuffling through NBA players for names for the shells and the bots that are attacking the subs. All right. So I just wanted to show you guys this. Like, that statistic right there is nuts. That we've traded 1 billion shares when there are no shares. Like 100% utilization usually means that shares are very, very hard to find. But yet somehow we've traded almost 1 billion shares. That's nuts. Like the 13th, right? 13th right here. That short exempts, that's high. You're not supposed to be using short exempts like that. Like, you're supposed to be using short exempts. Poof. You're basically controlling the stock when you're doing that, because you can really affect the price. Good night, guys. We moon tomorrow. Yeah, and if we're not, we'll just moon the next day, and we'll moon the next day, and we'll moon the next day, until we actually moon, and that's fine. Dustin, do you have a WhatsApp? Are the bots talking to each other now? Be intelligent, my fellow apes. Oh, man. I left the Steve Buscemi. Hey, fellow kids. I'm mooning bots right now. Yeah, I mean, 1,000 shares being traded 1 billion times. And that's part of the problem, is like, that shouldn't happen. That is not. The bot's controlled. Reggie Miller, do you have a DZ? Do you have a DZ account? Reggie Major, no, but I got a Pacers jersey with your name on it. Yeah. Reggie has an OnlyFans. Oh. Is this my OnlyFans, basically? The Anon. Yeah, so I just wanted you guys to see that. Like, that's nuts. I mean, these days right here, like, you shorted 68% of the entire daily volume. Like, and the other stuff's getting pushed off exchange. They just, I might buy ATER again at $3. Okay, if it gets back down there, you're more than welcome. I have to go. Bye for now. Will T plus 3 be in effect tomorrow? Yeah, so, I mean, here's the other thing, is they can choose to eat these things. If they know that they're already going to be screwed on FTDs, they may just kick the can and just go for broke at this point, because next week's going to be really, really telling. And why not at this point? If you're already going to get screwed, you might as well just really go for it on the FTDs, because FTDs are cumulative. Um, they'll bounce around, but it is what it is. You're winning over the bots. Bye, Reggie. Bye, Reggie Miller. They're going to come back in other forms. It's fine. It is what it is. Hello, my fellow Gators. You guys should sell. I told you 7 was the top. I mean, it's pretty fun. Alright. So, let's dive into ETFs real quick and see which... Larry Bird's going to be next, guys. Larry Bird, Irvin Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan will be in here soon to tell us that ATER is done. Alright, so let's see. Alright, so let's see. Let's go to find out where there are 13 Fs that hold Aterian, for everyone that wants to know. So let's do the ones with the most shares. So the IWM, and of course that one's going to be all sorts of messed up. This IWM follows the Russell Small Cap. Alright, so I'm going to go under here, and let's take a look at the short interest. Yeah, so they're getting paid. So the fees on the ETFs are like almost none. Like, so interesting enough, they shorted 63% of the volume, and actually 65% of the aggregate total volume today. So they shorted a ton of IWM today. Let's take a look at IWM and us real quick. I want to see if I can compare the two. So essentially what I'm doing right now, and I know you can't see it right now, is I'm trying to find out. I've got this up right now, which is this essentially, and what we're looking for is the ones that hold the most shares of, so these guys right here own like almost like 600K of Aterian, and I believe there's like, if I remember correctly, there's about 4 million shares total in all these funds. So I'd be very curious to see what some of these breakdowns are. Because like that one was just said that it was shorted 67% of the daily volume, or 66, something like that. Alright, what was the next one? VT. VTI. No, that's not it. that's it. Or wasn't it? Vanguard total stock. Oh, so that's just a big index fund, basically, right there. The Russell Growth. Excuse me. Here we go. Alright, so this one's a little lower. So it's not as bad. There's also less shares, though, here. There's only like 200k shares. So it looks like if they're going to be pulling shares from anywhere, it'd probably be under these two right here. Because they may get a couple shares out of these ones, but it's not like a huge amount. I'll have to dig into that a little later because I think I don't want to bore anyone too much with the research part of it. I know some people are looking for more, like what happened today, that sort of thing. What's going to happen tomorrow? So let's see. Gary Bird, did I call that? Holy crap! I just went to the chat. I think they're having fun now. Dennis Rodman's next. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. Calvin Murphy, George Foreman, Dennis Rodman's next. If we all exercise on a specific date, would it cause any harm? No, Keith. So the way it works is like when you exercise a option, you're actually allowing the market maker to de-hedge. So you just become then a T+2. So, I mean, all that's going to happen essentially is by the end of that day +2, your shares will be due to your account. And if they don't, then they become an FTD. So, you're basically, if you exercise early, you allow them to basically de-hedge your position. So, because then you just become a T+2 and they have to deal with it within 2 days. So, but yeah, I mean, that's basically what Fridays are. So by Wednesday the following week, if people actually exercise and wanted the shares, they're due by Tuesday or Wednesday the next week. So I expect to see some, buying maybe tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to be in the morning or at the very end of the day, but usually there's a pop at some point. So I think today they were really going for shaking that tree hard and trying to get people out. So that's kind of my thought. LeBron James. Let's see. Gary Bird. What a squeeze today, guys. So I'm just getting caught up on this. Gary, how you doing, my man? Now they're trolling it. Gary, are you Larry's brother? Gary Bird? Larry Bird's brother is here, guys. Gary Bird. I did call out that the next one was going to be Larry Bird. I mean, I feel like I'm getting trolled. When does Magic Johnson's shift begin? Yeah, Gary, tell us more about these stock tickers that you want us to know, but Hood looks good. Dan, in my opinion, not financial advice, I think those stocks are primed to rocket. Next after the ATER squeeze today. I with an apostrophe, graduated college, so I am very intelligent. If you have to, Gary, man, if you have to tell everyone that you're intelligent, you're not intelligent. Did you get your mother or father's red eyes? Where's Michelle Jordan? These spots are hilarious. I have to go now. Bye. No, Gary, come back. They're actively trolling us. Booty Pippin is next. Hey, Anon. I hope you're having a great night. Thanks, Jerry Moon. I hope you are too. We had a rough day, but 10% down. We'll come back at some point. And let's look at this stuff right now. We're gonna see buying pressure at some point. If retail keeps FOMOing in like this, there's gonna be days that they just can't keep it under wraps, so they're gonna get a bump up in buying. And with the option stuff, the higher that goes, then it's this self-perpetuating loop where, like, you can push it down, but we're basically going up in waves and then consolidating, and they're shorting it back down with shares that I don't know where they're getting them from. But, like, you look at these, like, there's buy pressure. There's buy pressure. And this one was not as strong because they really hit this down today. But you can see there's already the beginnings of some curling. So if you look down here, you can see that it's starting to curl back up. And so what we could see is, tomorrow going through, we might see right before the market open, it curls up a little bit. And you might see, them try to push it down. But, it looks like it wants to curl back up. The RSI is coming back up. The MACD is starting to, get smaller on this side. And then, you'll probably at least, and it looks like the Scotch is already, the stochastic or whatever, it's starting to move up. So they really did try to push it down here, and you can see. But at this point now, it's been running together. They're just going to separate and move back, crossover, and go. I think we were looking at that with DZ, if I remember correctly. If we looked at, like, the daily, you're going to see it, go over in these things, and then in this last this run, you're seeing these kind of like the crossover. They tried to get to crossover here. They couldn't get it. They got it to crossover here. And now they just got it to crossover down. They're trying to push it down now, back down in this area, get it back in a downtrend. That's what they're going for. So the question is retail going to hold firm by, deep in the money calls, like $4, where it's going to be really hard to get it down there? And then make the market makers give them their options. I mean, if enough people did that and they had money for it, they're going to cause more spikes down the line, because, I showed you the math on it. It's very improbable they actually have the amount of shares that they're saying they do. So at some point this all gives, and then you just see a rocket, like, one of these days where you just have you move up like $3 or $4. Where they get down to, it's 9 to like 19.10 that day. I mean, you're gonna see one of those at some point. So where should it go? Up. It should be going up. Yeah, I mean, you guys can all tell your price targets, but at this point right now, yeah. All right. Well, let me do this. I've got a bunch of research I need to start doing. I don't want to bore you guys with all the research stuff. But at this point, if anyone else has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Where's the stock going? I don't know. I mean, at this point right now, 25 when moon. Yeah, I know. We're still, this looks good. We're still in this uptrend. Nothing has broken it yet. I'm very curious to see what tomorrow does for us, because, as long as we're in this trend and we're, riding it up, it seems to be holding, and it's one of those things where it may not look pretty all the time, but if it's still just going in a nice uptrend, then that's a good thing. So, Scotty dripping. I kind of want to just leave the thing on and see how many bots we can get in here that have NBA names. Yeah, yard meat. This does feel like spurt. So it's got that feeling. And this also kind of felt like, GameStop before it ran. We didn't really know where it was going, but, like, one day you just wake up and you gap up and you just go, and it's a very interesting feeling because you go, holy crap, my account just 10x'd, and I don't even know what to do with this information. Just get that money and run. For some people, yeah, that's what they're gonna do. But like, I'm curious to see if they do that and it runs and it keeps running. Then if Aterian does a like at the money at some point, which is it's a very, I think it would be ignorant of me not to say that that's not a possibility. They have a dilution shelf. They do have the ability to file an S1 and do an at the money offering at some point. They've already, we've kind of ridden them in the past and to let them know that, they've got warrants already out there for dilution. Retail really does not want dilution. I don't think they want dilution either. From when I talked to IR, which is investor relations, I do not think that they want dilution because I don't think they like these shorts very much. That's the sense that I got, which was, these guys are basically driving us into the ground, and I don't see a whole lot of mercy for them, just based off of, So, I'm sure these shorts know it too, that they've been shorting this company down for a long time, and that, these guys were not big fans of theirs. So, will they let it run a while before they do an ATM? That's kind of my hope. We'll see if it ends up happening, but it is what it is. Wally's back now? Isn't Wally the king of the Gators? Isn't he Wally Gator? Scotty, come back as Penis Rodman. Oh, man. Has my confidence changed any? No. I mean, like, just look at the chart. I mean, like, people... Look at that chart. Why is my confidence shaken? We're up 144% in, like, a month. And we went down 10%, guys. And you guys are losing your minds. Like, we're up 35%. Like, over the last 5 days. How, it just, that's the stuff that I don't get. People get really like, oh, like, it's all falling apart. I'm like, it went down 15%. Like, you're up 144% over a month. And it retraces 10%, cools off on the RSI, and you freak out. Like, it's why you're, We're not the head ATER. ATER Gator. Thoughts on gapping up? Yeah, at some point it will probably gap up, and then it'll just run. And those gaps tend to fill, especially on small caps, because it's so easy to manipulate the price. And that's, part of the reason also it's here. So, but yeah, my confidence doesn't change. We have a nice bullish chart. And honestly, at some point, I think the entire the float will be locked up in the options chains. So, will I do a face reveal after ATER squeezes? I mean, isn't anonymous supposed to be anonymous? If I'm Anon and everyone knows who I am, is it anonymous anymore? My name wouldn't make sense anymore. If a lot of money came, that's when he has to hide his face the most. Yeah, like, I mean, I really don't have any interest in being, like, famous or anything like that. Like, I just want to do stocks and talk to people about stocks, and, I don't need anyone to, give me fame or anything like that. This was just forehead reveal after the squeeze. All right, I'll show you guys, slowly over time, I guess. Tease you with my forehead. Face reveal if it hits 100 by Friday. Sure. If this hits 100 by Friday, I will reveal my face. How's that? But you're gonna have to, you're gonna have to fork up a lot of money to get that stock up to 100. So yeah, I'll reveal my face pixel by pixel like space on Reddit. Screenshot. I'm curious about something. Let me just do this. I'm gonna pull up while we're still here, and then we still have a couple people in this, live stream. I'm gonna pull up real quick the TD Thinkorswim. Excuse me. If I do my face reveal, we put red eyes on it. I don't really understand that whole, like, the bot thing. Like, let's see. All right. Let's take a look over here. It'll be okay. So I just do that. I'll record. All right, guys, it's gonna be okay, and then just put that on loop, so you guys can listen to it all day, tomorrow, and the next day when we have one of these candles that scares the crap out of retail, even though it shouldn't. Like, guys, we're doing fine. Like, there's still volume. There's still, like, this ADL, like, it's slightly up here, and then it's just been flat, even though the price has been going up, and we had this day. Something's weird on this. Something's not right. Let me go to the 4 hour. See if there's more movement. But, like, this is super weird. Like, the money flows in. The volume goes, like, up, though. We actually had a decent volume day. But yet it was dropping. And then the ADL has been basically down in the dumps. Slow. Like, it's such a weird... It's not doing what it's supposed to. The indicator's not doing what it's supposed to. I'm gonna call them tomorrow and find out if there are better indicators that I can figure out how to read into that more, because is that a different Scotty Drippin'? Or is it the same one? Hey, Scotty Tippin', you should tip me. We're going to mute all bots unless they tip. They super chat me. The Red Eyes really promote HYMC and Mullen. Wonder if they're just trying to get those two names out on YouTube a bunch, so they just send the bots out to spam it and just do the ones that they don't want people buying, and then obviously pump the ones that they do. That would be interesting. Scotty, can you tell us about, how your bosses pay you? Are you paid like per mention or like interaction? Like how does your your bot farm work? I'm fascinated to understand and learn. How much do you think Scotty makes? Huh, guys? What do you think Scotty makes? Probably not enough, right? Scotty, you know what you should do? You should buy some Aterian. You should buy some call options deep in the money on Aterian. And I think you should quit your job after that. Because, you'll have like FU money to your boss. If you would like, I can share my due diligence with you, Scotty. Scotty, you want me to share the DD with you? I have to go now. Bye. They're on to us. Scotty doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know that Fiona and me do it. If anyone knows that movie. No, I don't think they're in. I think language might be English, might be a second language for some of these people. Yeah, don't tell Scotty. Scotty doesn't know. Fiona says that she's. He's gotta buy. He's gonna buy. Yeah, he should. All right. So let's take a look at the last thing. I mainly just came down. I wanted to kind of show you guys kind of what was going on and why we were moving up and down so much. But yeah, I mean, just to recap for anybody that wasn't here earlier, basically what happened today was these deeper in the money puts, and probably they bid slammed and tried to get the stock underneath 7, and then once they got it under 7 they started stacking these, and then they also stacked some of these, and then they slid it down and had a large amount of these $6 puts, which was going to put down downward pressure on the stock. And so they basically were doing like a reverse gamma ramp, pushing it down, and as that's happening they hedged these yesterday, so they started de-hedging these at the same time. So basically, these guys spent some money to basically push down the stock and get all this de-hedged. Now, what will be interesting is if retail starts buying deep in the money stuff in massive amounts, what will end up happening is these will get pushed up and then have to get hedged again. And so once these start getting hedged, then it will raise the price more, and it kind of goes like that. So. But yeah, they basically were just pushing this down, and then they had to de-hedge a huge amount of shares in this area. So they ended up de-hedging these, and it also puts downward pressure because of these ones having to get hedged too. So that's kind of what happened today. It wasn't anything like super, super obvious, but I think they're using the options exchange to pretty much control everything at this point. And I think they're just allowing the FTDs to pile up, or they're basically just getting them routed off exchange and trying to get retail to sell off and get scared. But I think the people that can remain calm and just look at it objectively, and I'll be on the phone with the SEC and FINRA tomorrow just because I want to check in with them and find out what's going on, because a lot of this stuff doesn't match up to what I'm taking in notes. So maybe I'll send in a whistleblower report. Who knows? I am not a former NBA player. I promise you. I am. I mean, I played basketball growing up, but not like that. Like I played in like youth leagues when I was like, 13, and it wasn't that good. It's like second string. But it's fun. Let's see. Is there anyone else have questions? Yeah, if it hits $7 on Friday, all hell will break loose. Yeah, if it goes to 7, then it'll probably go to 8. If it goes to 8, then it might run up. It just, yeah, they're gonna really, really try to keep this stock from running. And this is why are people chatting about other stocks in here? Because they're bots. That's why. Yeah. It is what it is. The bots are trying to push other stocks, and then we've been talking to the bots trying to find out who their boss is and, convince them to buy some Aterian. But yeah, I mean, we should all be calling and submitting in stuff to the SEC. I'll post a DD on like how to do that. But I'm hoping that they'll talk to me tomorrow just because I want to find out some questions that, I've noticed these things. I've screenshotted them over the years. This is a lot of evidence that I'm gathering against these, shorts and market makers and perhaps even the clearinghouse. So let's see how that goes. But in the meantime, why were the bots promoting 7 the other day? I don't really know. I don't really remember that, but what did you think of Zip Cover's coverage? I didn't see it. Did he put out something tonight? I'll go and watch it after this. Does anyone want to tell me what he was saying? Let me know what Zip Trader's stuff was about. I mean, I'll go watch it after, but I mean, I'd be curious to see what he was saying too. The Ortex numbers, I think, were... Honestly, I don't know how accurate these ones are, but let me at least take a look at this. Let's see. He said if it hits 7 or 8 in the next 2 days, it will go parabolic. But if it drops below 5, it will lose momentum, and it may take a while to pick back up. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much in line with what I would say too. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I was blocking the cam girl ads that we were getting. Yeah, and here's the thing, like Aterian, if you get pushed under $5, we're at book value then. So I mean, like, to me, what's going to be super interesting is the FTDs, and I think that maybe bring people back in if they decide to get out on today. I think they'll be interested to know how that all works when the FTDs start piling up. So the FTDs are just going to prove to you that there's something weird going on with the stock, and it needs to be looked at very carefully by the SEC and other regulators. And then, where are they getting these shares, and why doesn't this information match up? And there's all sorts of things going on with this. So I think the more we dig and the more we kind of look at it, having 20% of the options locked up in the maze is not, that could be a very big catalyst where, if you have 100% of the options locked up in May, you're gonna probably scream up just like support did. So you need to stream earlier. I'm sitting here at 4 a.m. like a gremlin. Yeah, sorry, Nifty. I was gonna say at this point right now, I'm not up to that level where I'm able to replace my income. So I will not be able to stream live, even though it's like some of the most important time to actually like be there for the retail community. But you know, I I don't make enough money doing this. I just turned on like my YouTube thing, and at this point, like I think I've gotten like $20. That's not going to pay the bills. I got I got kids and a wife to feed and a mortgage, and I need to make at least make what I'm making now. So switch over to this. My wife said I could do it. It's just a matter of like if we get to that level. So if that Patreon, like I don't want to charge for the Discord. I want to keep it free for everyone to just go in there and learn. And I don't want it to be that thing, but because everyone puts up a paywall around their Discord, and I feel like I would like it not to be that way. I want to make it a low entry for people to come in and learn. That was kind of the goal of this thing. It was never to make money. It was just to teach retail, and I'd like to keep it that way if I can. That's just who I am. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it just is what it is. So there's the Discord. Let me know if that link works, because they said that it was having issues before. And then, sorry, my dog's snoring next to me. And should do daily repeat of the DD, but with the current price action, 5 minutes a day. Yeah, if I don't really know how to edit videos. This is the reason I do these long live streams, because I have no idea how to like edit the videos. I have to learn, I have to teach myself. So I apologize. I need to break up these DDs and kind of like get people to do that. So the link says invite invalid. What is that? Is everyone having that problem? I'm going to invite. It says the link will never expire. Can somebody else confirm that that link doesn't work? Expires never. Max uses never. Hit copy. Yeah, I don't know. It's saying the link works fine for me. Works for them too. Did you get banned or something there? Sacred or scared goat? Did you get banned or something? Or let me go to my other computer. I don't know. If it drops below 5 or yeah, so here's the thing, guys. Like, I don't necessarily know if it goes that low, if it's the play's dead. Like, there's a lot of factors that go into this, but for the most part, I mean, like, if retail was willing to buy at 7, and you're going long this company, essentially, why wouldn't you buy it at 4 or 5? Like, I mean, I was buying in the 2s. Yeah, Aterian's book value is around 420, 430, something like that, based off their balance sheet. Like, it's just a matter of time. Like, I think retail owns the float. That's just my honest assessment. So, I think that retail owns the float, and I think that these guys got greedy, and we are now witnessing like a caged animal that's been backed up, and they're just scrambling and trying to thrash around, and but I'm not scared. Has someone done the DD using the book map with those heat maps? I don't think so. Do you wanna do that, Tiny? I mean, anyone's willing to, if you're willing to do some work and put out some information, and I think it'd be great if we could do that all across the board. So, all right. Well, I'm getting tired again. I'll go ahead and take take a leave, and if you guys are interested in trying to make me a full-time streamer, I will go ahead and link the Patreon again, and we'll eventually we'll get up there, and I can switch careers. And if you guys want me to do this full time, that's fine. I think it'd be fun. Oh, cool! We get 77 Patreon or patrons now, so that's very cool. A little bit more, and we'll get there, and that'd be very cool. But yeah, I was gonna say, if you guys want to, have me around when the stocks, obviously, hopefully moving up very rapidly, I'd love to live stream that and see how that goes. All right, guys. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Gina. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me. And then I'll be around the Discord tomorrow if you're on it, and I'll try to answer questions. But I've got to finish a bunch of stuff, and I need to do some more research on the ETFs, and I've got a bunch of stuff to do tonight. So I will see you guys in the morning in the pre-market, and have a great evening. All right, thanks, guys.